Hey everyone, hope you guys are all doing good. So this video is going to cover the minor arcana from the Nine of Wands to the Ten of Wands. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the Nine of Wands. Okay, so the Nine of Wands is about, it's showing a man here who's got a bandage on his head and he's barely standing. Okay, so just from the picture, you could tell that he's probably had some hard knocks and he's been down before. So he's looking a little leery around. So the kind of thoughts, that come up, the ideas that come to mind are defensiveness, being guarded, losing your innocence because you've seen it all, you've seen a lot, of suffering, or you've suffered. And and it also has to do with persistence. So that's a good way to look at the Nine of Wands, because at first it helps with your the guidance aspect of it, and it's just saying basically to, even though you're like, the message that comes to mind when I look at the Nine of Wands is, okay, despite the fact that you're tired, don't give up. Okay, that's mainly the overall message of the Nine of Wands. Now I'm gonna go ahead and break it down according to what it means in different areas of your life. So okay, so you see the Nine of Wands and you're wondering about work, and so a few things come to mind when I see this card. You got, let's say you got a job and you're working already. Well, the message here is stay persistent. You're definitely tired, but don't give up. And it's also saying, I feel there's also like another message coming with this card, as if to say, be careful too. So I feel that it's saying to be smart, before you, not just to be persistent, but to keep your guard up. Don't assume that. I mean, this is if you're asking for guidance. This card has more of a I don't want to use these type of words, but it's kind of a militant feel to it, because the man is so guarded and everything. So I feel it's saying this is a time where it's actually appropriate to say, be careful. Be careful. Um, keep your guard up. Maybe the people you're working with or for don't have the best intentions, and it's always good to be to be cautious. So, but there's a downside to this card too. Depending on, you have to be your own best judge and know what know if you are being too guarded or defensive. A lot of times when I read for clients, um, I feel that it's saying their partner or they themselves are too defensive, and they have a wall. They're too defensive. They're not willing to open up and let their guard down a little bit. So you can look at it either way, whether it's advising you to be guarded, or to stop with it because it's too much, and it is making you, it's trying to help you realize that this is, this needs to stop. It's bringing it to your attention, in other words. But depending on the position and what cards are around it, that should also cue you in on if it's hurting you or helping you. So okay, so if let's say we got this Nine of Wands card in the the situation, what is going on, what's the deal here. I would assume, the way I would read it is that somebody in the relationship is very defensive, and that's the problem. That's what's going on. it's not advising you to be guarded. It's saying this is the problem. This is the problem. But if you're, if you're doing a reading and you're asking for advice and you see this card, you'd have to probably draw another card to give you some information on what it means. What is it exactly trying to tell you? Like you ask for more information and you pull like the star. Well, it's probably saying to stop being so guarded. You're doing this too much. Start to, live a little and let your defenses down and be a little more trusting, like the star, or the Six of Cups, So, um, that's why it's good to keep tabs of a reinforcing card and opposing cards to know uh, in what direction it's pulling you in. Just looking at a card doesn't really say much. It doesn't help you. It's just a definition. It doesn't tell you exactly if you should add to this or take away from this. It's only addressing a concept, not in what quantity, should you apply it as. Like, should you stop being guarded or start being more careful, Okay, so in love, this would mean, you know, be careful, maybe start opening up to your partner only because you're being too guarded. Maybe your partner is getting too defensive and you need to take some action. So this has to do with guardedness and defensiveness. And I also think of post-traumatic stress disorder. That comes to mind. Like, you've been hurt and you're just, you don't trust anybody anymore. And that's another way to look at it. So yeah, my point is to look at other cards. Okay, you have to look at other cards to really know with this one. That's above all else. I think with the Nine of Wands, I typically don't just look at it and know what the problem is. I just know this is a concept that that is relevant to what you're dealing with. So, okay, in work, just keep trying, whether depending on what other cards you see, it could be saying to, trust in more or be more cautious. Same with love, be a little careful. Maybe you need to be a little more careful in who you choose as a partner. Like, if you're single, be a little more careful, more guarded. You could be in a place where there's not that many good suitors around, so you might want to be careful who you choose. I don't mean to keep going back and forth between love and work, but as far as with work, like, let's say if you're unemployed, it's saying just to keep trying, keep trying, be persistent. Work will be found. You'll find employment. Okay, even though you're not feeling it. Let's say you're very pessimistic, and there's a lot of pessimism that comes with the Nine of Wands. Okay, and so for finances, same idea, same approach. You're probably not doing so well financially. You're barely making by. You're scrimping. You're you're trying to, make it through with what you have, and it's a struggle, and it's hard to, it's hard to make the money that you're making, whether it's a lot or a little. You're working really hard for it, and you're very guarded with your money. You don't trust other people with it. Um, these ideas come to mind with the Nine of Wands. It's about distrust, in other words, guardedness, and you have to apply it to that area. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and focus on the Ten of Wands. Okay, so the Ten of Wands is mainly about burdens and responsibility and blame. So you see this card, and the figure, the man who's carrying these wands, he's carrying a lot on his shoulders. He's almost there. He's almost gonna make it where he can go to his destination and drop it off. These wands, but he's completely taxed. He's overtaxed and he's tired. So go and apply this to each area. How that would would work, how that would apply to your area that you're wanting to get some insight on. So you have a work question and you see this card saying that you're just working too dang hard. You're doing too much work. You need to lighten the load. Maybe your coworkers are slacking and you're taking all the work. Or, depending on where this card is placed, let's say it's falling into the sometimes depending, I mean, there's like a million types of readings out there. And if you're doing a reading and it falls under the what others think of you card, or what they expect of you, depending on how you address the position, it can tell you if they think that you need to work more, like you need to pull your weight around. So you have to put it in perspective depending on what the position is. So if this is the future card coming up, it means you're going to be working really hard. It's going to be an uphill battle. As a guidance card, it might be saying to either start working more or to take a load off. And that's how, that's typically how I do my readings, at least, because otherwise, how are you going to really know what the issue is? It's just, like I said before, it's addressing the concept. It's the concept of working too hard, the idea of working too hard. You need to know if you need to start doing it more, or you're not doing it enough. But I'm also seeing that I would say that the 10 of Wands with pertaining to love, my definition on that, the idea that comes to mind for me with the 10 of Wands is when your partner is putting a lot of burden on you and blame. Almost like, sometimes I always think of it as borderline abuse. Maybe it's not always that extreme, but if your partner is always blaming you for something, verbal abuse, or making you do all the work, there's like an imbalance here. And sometimes the love, in a love reading, the 10 of Wands can mean you're feeling troubled about something. You want to get something maybe off your chest. You feel guilty about something. So that's another way to look at the 10 of Wands. And like I say always, whatever's around it can give you some more insight to it, to what the what the idea is, what the deal is here. Okay, but in finances, okay, so this is obviously saying that you're having trouble making ends meet. You're paying too much in taxes. You're paying too much for everything. Everything is costing so much money, and you're working your fingers to the bone just to get by. So there isn't really much uh, there isn't much room for interpretation, I think, when it comes to the financial aspect of it, because this guy looks kind of like he's slaving away. So you're working really hard, and depending on what you ask, let's say you want to know what to do to make more money, it could be saying you need to work harder. It's just it's simple as that. You got to look at it this way. So the position definitely is as important as the card you see, because it could completely change the meaning of these cards. What they're trying to tell you. So for love, I would say this is definitely a burdensome time for couples. It's really hard, or at least one party. I don't know, depending, because one person could be, going along for a joyride, and the other one's just taking all the responsibility, doing all the work. So yeah, that's how I look at it. And so I guess that's it. I feel like I've covered the work aspect, love, and financial part of it. If you have any questions about If you have any questions about the meanings of these cards or anything about tarot in general, go ahead and ask. I'd be happy to, respond. And if you want, visit my website on www.stellartarot.com. Okay, thanks. Bye.